Welcome to Viggy Talks. This is a conversation show about music and the creative things that inspire us each and every day. This is the first episode, and I have a hell of a guest for you today. He is the manager of the world-famous Southern Ukulele Store in the UK. He's also one half of the musical group Hummingbird and the Crow. His new single, Dreaming of You, can be streamed wherever you stream your music, and he's also the host of the Ukes With Alex podcast. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Alex Beds. Hello, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
cool. Wow, I can't believe I'm your first guest.
Yes.
I'm so honored.
I'm really happy to have you. I know we've met digitally in this virtual social media age, so it's just cool to see you, well, still virtually, but a little more in person here on this podcast. So welcome. I'm very excited that you're here. I guess the first question that all instrumentalists are always asked is, what is the spark that got you into the music world? What is the kind of the initial thing that got you into your instrument of choice? So today I'm going to ask you, what was it about the ukulele?
The ukulele has so many people you'll find as you interview more and more guests. I found most people who are into the ukulele professionally, they fell into it. It wasn't this thing where they played it for years and then they went, I'm going to move into this field. It was the same for me. I was a guitarist. I was a semi-professional guitarist for years. I played in a couple of bands, and it was fantastic. It was great. And I worked one day a week at the Southern Ukulele Store. And then it was 2, then it was 3, then it was 4, then it was 5, and then I was the manager. And then I was going to California for the NAMM show every year, and then I was filming these YouTube videos, and then I started doing my own thing because I was enjoying doing the work thing, and then I was doing it in my own time. And then I started writing my music on the ukulele, and then it's just one thing after another, and it all came very organically. But the spark for me, I'd worked at the shop for about 6 months, and I met James Hill.
Oh,
and
excellent.
Yeah, and James was the first songwriter where I saw him play a ukulele, and it was just a completely transformative experience. I feel like my life was going in one direction. James Hill hit it and it went off in another. And those moments, they're the ones that, you know, they kind of form who you are. And seeing James Hill play, he's got a tune that he plays called Ode to a Frozen Boot, which was just an instrumental. And he played that and I went, okay, that's great, but it's an instrumental ukulele piece. Okay, any clever dick can play that. And then he played a song that had such meaningful lyrics, and the ukulele playing was so full and vibrant, and it just stuck with me. And it always has. It always has. James and his old solo album, which came out much later, they have been pivotal for me as a musician in keeping me interested in expanding what the ukulele could be.
That's beautiful. I love that. James Hill definitely has that kind of influence on me too, right? As I was learning the ukulele, it was just kind of the basics with strumming and chords and stuff like that. And then I hit the big two, we'll say. It was Jake Shimabukuro and it was James Hill. And it was insane. The same thing. It was like, that was it for me. I saw with Jake it was the chord melody, it was the finger style, and then actually with James it was the chopsticks, it was all the parts of Billie Jean at once on the uke with the percussion and stuff, and I was just like, you can do all of this on this little instrument. So I definitely get the James Hill inspiration. He's an absolute legend, and if he ever would even consider coming on this podcast, I think I would cry and then it would be over. So the fact that you've met him is very, very cool. Bucket list moment for me, for sure.
Yeah, I've met James a few times, and he meets a lot of people, and from one to the next doesn't really remember me. When he's been at the shop, he's remembered. And I just really enjoy talking to that guy because he's so clearly been involved in the ukulele for such a big part of his life.
Oh yeah.
That, you know, the teaching element of it, and then trying to go for that kind of culture with. I love the heads he's doing now, the uke heads. If you've seen that, they're fantastic. And just is it uke? I get a lot of them confused, which is terrible. But it's Uketropolis is his one, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
And the book. and the courses, and his YouTube channel is fantastic for jazz ukulele. He's the only person I know that's put a lot of very good free jazz ukulele lessons up.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I know I definitely follow the Uketropolis on Instagram, and then also he has a really cool clothing line too called 1879 Apparel.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
ukulele clothes. I have one of those shirts, really cool.
nice.
But yeah, I just love how I have one of his books too. I have Duets for One, which I think is one of my favorite named books out there. um, but yeah, I actually the closest I ever got to kind of like meeting James Hill was in a live stream he did. Does the charity live streams a lot on Instagram, and I believe it was the one for the Ukulele Safari, and he played his arrangement of Viva La Vida, which is out of this book, and it's the reason I
Yeah,
bought this. And it was I always play it whenever I have the opportunity to play live. I always play that one because it's one of my favorite arrangements, just in general for the uke, and it's definitely my favorite of his. And I got to hear him play it on a live stream, and I kind of like swooned and then cried a little bit, and then it was just excellent. So, um,
that's so Viva La Vida. Don't tell anyone, Vicky. It's just between you and I. I actually prefer Calais' version of Viva La Vida.
oh my god!
Don't tell James. Don't
I
tell
won't
James.
tell him. I won't tell him. He's not gonna watch this. It's okay. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we're pretty safe to assume he's not going to watch this.
nah, he's probably not gonna watch this. But that's so cool. Speaking of the ukulele, as we're talking about it here, I wanted to mention something that we have in common. We are both left-handed. But we both actually play the ukulele differently. So I play the uke standard like right hand style, but you play it Jimi Hendrix style. Yes, you flip yours over.
So I do for the shop, yeah. So for the shop videos, I play right-handed ukuleles upside down.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people think that I would restring them all, and I think, how many hours in a lifetime do you think? How many sets of strings do you think that would cost? It would cost nearly £100 every single week, and
Right.
it would take up half my week just filming a video. So I learned to do it both ways, and it was natural to me. And actually, what happens, and the way I try and explain it to people that can't grasp it, is I turn my brain upside down. So I imagine playing the ukulele, and then I imagine, literally, I'm like, in my brain, I'm transposing upside down and back to front,
Hmm.
and it just works for me. And some things I play better that way than when I try and play them my way. When I've made tutorials for things that I play in the Southern Ukulele Store videos, I've actually had to teach myself my own pieces so that I can teach them back.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so weird.
that's interesting because I've tried to flip it over once heard from you that you play it upside down, and it seems so wild to me, but just extra creds to you for picking it up that way and having it come naturally for you. I think
Yeah,
so the ambidextrous nature of it doesn't bother you then at all, like, because for some reason for me it made more sense for my dominant hand to be making like the fret and like the chord shapes, whereas like I felt like my right hand could kind of be fine doing just like the picking over here, because for me my right hand cannot do shit and it could not do
yeah.
chord shapes like as much as I tried. So um do you
I'm not ambidextrous at all. My
Mhm.
my dad taught me classical guitar when I was
Oh,
about
cool.
12. I took up classical guitar, and my dad said, "You've got to learn left-handed because you do everything left-handed. You'll thank me later." And I've never once thanked him because it was probably the worst decision someone's ever made for me.
Oh no.
Yeah, like, I honestly believe there have been two or three times in my life where I could have become a much bigger musician had I been able to just be relatable to people in that way. I've always
Mm,
found myself in positions like I'm in now, where I film YouTube videos for the shop. I used to be a teacher, and when I was teaching, I would have had more students if I'd been right-handed. And I really do believe that, having when I pick up a ukulele now, and I can play ukulele right-handed, just not very well. I do believe that it would have come to me more naturally. But I am naturally very left-handed, and for me, from day one, it always felt like I was playing the right way around. So maybe I'm just a bit hard on my dad about it. Who knows?
mhm. Well, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with learning the left-handed way if that is kind of the way that not they, I guess, as like instrument makers want you to kind of flip it over and do it. So I mean, it would make sense if you were like, hey, I'm left-handed and they make left-handed guitars. I guess that's the one for me, you know?
It saved me tens of thousands of pounds, though. There were so many times where if I'd had an opportunity to buy a guitar or a ukulele that was right-handed. If I'd been right-handed, I definitely would have talked myself into spending a lot more money. And it sounds like a joke, but it's the truth. You know, I'm very, very into like pastel colors, and I've always loved color schemes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the amount of times that something hasn't been available left-handed, and I've had to learn a skill like spraying guitars, or you know, even putting things together and cutting my own guitar bodies, and it just having to actually be resourceful I think it's humbled me. Whereas if things had been readily available to me, I think I'd have been a monster and I'd have this ridiculous collection of instruments and I'd never play any of them.
I think that's my problem. I think that is the actual synopsis of the problem I've had and haven't been able to describe it. It's that exact thing. I have too many ukuleles, and it's because I'm right-handed. I need to be stopped. That's what it is.
Absolutely. I'll
Yeah.
have a word with Flight. They seem
Yeah.
to be the main culprits for so many of you guys.
Yeah, tell them that I need to stop. I need to take a breather for a little bit. Attention. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with UAS, Ukulele Acquisition Syndrome, you may be entitled to financial restriction. UAS is linked to large ukulele collections and obsessive musical behavior. Please don't wait. Ask your doctor if getting a grip is right for you. Call the toll-free number below, 1-800-NO-MORE-UKES. You make these lovely arrangements for the ukulele. I love your arrangement, low G arrangement of New York, New York by Frank Sinatra. It's
Thank you.
absolutely beautiful. And I just recently started to arrange things for like a low G string, because it kind of is a whole different kind of thing when you come from arranging for a high G. So I guess with low G, and then also just your process in general when it comes to arranging a song for fingerstyle, for chord melody, like where do you kind of start? Is it a song that you can kind of hear like a finger picking melody that you want to transcribe, or is it a song that just kind of speaks to you in that moment? Or what's kind of like your process when it comes to choosing a song and then arranging it, both low G and high G?
So I do very little arranging in high G because I think as much as that's the origin of the ukulele, I I personally feel like it's evolved. I've seen it firsthand. I mean, I've been doing this for 14 years, and just in the last 5 or 6, the kind of prolific nature of people playing entire arrangements on the ukulele has taken off. Before that, it was much less common, and people were much more about playing some of the melody around a rhythmic chordal pattern. Now, the actual expression, it's almost like a lounge jazz soul thing has happened, and it came really, I think, from people like James and Jake, and it's become more popularized by people like Calais and Corey, yourself, you know, half a dozen very, very talented people like yourself on social media that have kind of had moments where they've done an arrangement and it's sparked and taken off. For me, it's much less complicated. You know, if I want to play an arrangement or come up with something, I usually find the first bit by accident. You know that earworm at the beginning of a song, like, you know, you go like a, you're finding the chords naturally by I see trees, and you're going, well, I know that. I
Mm-hmm.
must find this next note. So you're going, agree, and you're building the chord around the note. So I'm definitely finding the part of the melody, and then I'm discovering what the chord would be. And it's intuitive from there, whether it's a major or a minor. You know, you can hear that it's sad, so you start searching for minor chords. And spoiler alert, on the ukulele, it's almost always A minor.
Right. Yeah, it's usually always A minor, and it's usually always C or F when I'm arranging stuff. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've done a few in G, and they're the ones that are most popular. I've noticed people get really excited about the arrangements in G.
Hmm.
Uh, so I try and do more, but then I do find that it starts to sound a bit too guitar-like. I start writing it more like I'm a guitar player. So it's a balance about trying to keep it ukulele, but also, you know, you want to try and kind of encourage people and inspire people.
Right, yeah. I also really like the G arrangements in G because you can always play around with that like droning G string,
Yeah,
whether you're in
that's
high
where
or
low G,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
that's where low G comes across.
I did what was it? I did something with the low G that sounded cool. I forget. Great content here. Some song that I did was in low G and I just don't remember it right now.
I'm absolutely, yeah, I must hear more. I must hear more. Go ahead. There's
Whatever.
something.
Yeah, it's something is in G. I'll put it like on the bottom of the screen. I'll remember it in like an hour and be like, that was it as I'm editing this.
Been there so many times on
Yeah.
camera, honestly, and your brain just goes, and you just feel like those moments there for that you hear the silence becomes loud, and it's in
It's
your own
so
mind.
loud. I've done that so many times. I'll be like doing some live stream and I'll like make a joke that doesn't land. And like I in the moment I actually pick it up pretty quick, but like I'll go to bed and be like there was like 10 whole seconds of silence and like I'm like no, it was fine. I have to walk back and be like it's okay. You are not that much of an idiot. It's all right.
I'll just kind of tell you a quick story about what I do for myself with the videos because I've been
Oh,
doing the
please.
videos for so long now. So I put I put in jokes in just for myself.
Oh, I love it.
So what I do is if I film in front of all the posters at the Southern Ukulele Store, sometimes what I do is I put photos in of the people who work at the shop over the photos of the actual people, and I track it and I move it around. And sometimes it's over like £3,000 instruments. So everyone's looking at the instrument. And then what will happen is that 9, 10 months later, there'll just be a comment from someone tagging like time stamping and going,
They're like
what why has Alex put his head over Phil Dolman's? And the funny thing is, me and Phil Dolman look identical. So it took me 10 months for someone to see.
oh
I
my
do it's purely for my own amusement. When I'm making the next video, you can feel the warmth that I enjoy what I do. And it's those little things like that where I'm just taking the piss out of myself. They're what make it for me. I'm losing my voice at the moment, and this is a song that sounds better when you sound a little bit broken.
Mm.
So this is my single. It's the first of 6 that I'm releasing over the next, I don't know, let's say 5, 6 months. Um, and it's a really personal song to me because I wrote the music first, and then I went through an incredibly difficult breakup, the end of a marriage, and I wrote a lot of the lyrics in the week where I transitioned away from living in a marital home with my children to living by myself. And it's sad. It's like the best songs when you're a songwriter. Like for me, it really captured that moment in time, and it's a cathartic thing playing it because I don't feel that way anymore. But I played this song recently at a really cool event called it's Bracklesham Ukulele Weekend, and it was one of the best gigs of my life because people see the Southern Ukulele Store videos and they assume that I'm a comedy act, I think, and
Mhm.
then I hit somebody with a really meaningful, deep song, and I had people in the audience crying, and we were hugging, and it was just this, yeah, just this mega moment for me. So this song actually has taken on a new meaning for me because of that wonderful weekend.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so excited to hear it. I listened to the single a few times today in preparation. So now I'm excited to hear it live.
Oh, let's play it.
Memories somehow scattered in the air. From time to time, I breathe a fragment in. You are just a feeling now to me. My imagination, it fills the details in. Well, they say the youth is wasted on the young. Someone should have warned me maybe that I'd be feeling this. I'm speechless. A decade separates our souls, but in a different life you would have let me in. said you'd watch forever from afar. I'm speechless, algorithms hide a face. My imagination guides the way, but nostalgia finds a flame. I think we know one kiss would lead to pain, but days and months and years pass by and I'm still dreaming of you, dear. Days, months and years pass by and I'm still dreaming of you,
Thank you.
Yay! Oh, beautiful. I really like fingerstyle players because everyone, well, it's the same kind of technique, but everybody kind of does their own way of like, I don't know, expressing like their songs through their instrument. Like I love all those little hammer-ons within a finger picking pattern. Like it just adds a little more depth to it, and it just sounds so lovely. Ah, I loved it.
Thank you. It's all in the fingers. When you hear a fingerstyle player, that's where you hear the tone. I think with a strummer, it's a lot harder to hear that personality. It's not bad when you're a good strummer. You know, if you're a fantastic, but it's almost like you're a good percussionist rather than,
Right.
you know, rather than a kind of technical, I don't know, melodic person. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I like fingerstyle players.
I love all those intricacies and stuff like that. You get it more with like finger picking than you do with strumming. Absolutely lovely. Thank you. Now let's see. I have a segment that I'm gonna do. It's called 5 Faves.
Is it just free time? I can just come up with 5 things, or do you give me a lead thing?
30 seconds.
Water, Lego, ketchup.
Ketchup.
Do you know what? You're missing a trick, because you know I think my favorite thing about your content is when you do things where you kind of make things an infomercial or a commercial. Like that's where you're real. Like you've got such a cool caramelized personality. Like you've got so much texture to you.
Oh, thank you.
For me, if we do this podcast and there's not some really cool 4-second jingle before I start, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm just telling you now.
Oh no, I got the jingles worked out. I got all the segment jingles worked out. It is done, baby. I got it all. Don't you worry.
I can't wait. Cool. Yeah, lead the way, because you lead the way here. How do we do this then? What do I do?
So your first favorite will be favorite movie.
Okay, it's always, since the moment I saw it, it's been Inside Llewyn Davis. I love Oscar Isaac. I love the Coen brothers. I love Adam Driver. I love every single person in that film. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. But what I love most about it is how many people just won't and don't get it. And that's okay. I love that people don't get it. But as somebody that was, you know, I'm in a good job and I love what I do. But there is a part of me that is always just 5% depressed that I didn't make my life what I wanted it to be. That is not something that I'm like about, you know, I'm not sad about it. But so basically every musician, every creative person probably has that in them, even super successful ones. And Inside Llewyn Davis is the film that I think best captures the failed dream of a creative person. So yeah, I debate this film. Like certain films, I love the color palette, I love the clothing, I love how well it captures 1960s New York. Obviously I was there, I have a time machine, and I went back and I was like, do you know what, the Coen brothers really captured this moment in time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I can vouch for it. I was there. I know exactly. They got it right. Like
exactly.
But no, that is an absolutely beautiful movie. It is one of my favorite Coen brothers movies too. It's way up there.
There is another thing about it. So he plays a Gibson L1. Probably 1919, 1920 Gibson L1.
1927. I'm so sorry.
A Gibson L1 from 1927.
Hey, I'm glad you know. Anyway, I was in California at Norm's Rare Guitars the month that he bought it,
Oh
because
wow.
they bought it for the film, and then he bought it off of them. It
Hmm.
went back, and he bought it that month. And when I was there, they were talking about people that had been in recently. And Mark, back then, Mark Agnesi still worked there, and he was just name dropping people. And the only name that stuck in my head was Oscar Isaac. I had no idea who he was. And then when the film came out in the January of 2014, I think, you're probably going to correct me now.
That I don't know.
Correct me a
I
minute ago.
think it
Now
was
I'm well
2014.
scared.
No, I'm sorry. That I don't know. I think it's around there. I think it's 2013 or 14. But please.
Yes, I get it confused. So my time machine must have taken you 7 and 1 looks the same when I was,
Yeah, exactly.
and yeah, it was one of those things. And then I see Oscar Isaac perform with that guitar sometimes in YouTube videos, and
Hmm.
he clearly has an attachment to it. And so many things came off the back of that film as well. They did that concert where I discovered the Milk Carton Kids, and discovering them changed my life. You know, that the soundtrack to that film made me not hate Marcus Mumford.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
at that point, being in a band that did similar music that came out at the same time and was working on the scene the same time as them when they blew up, there was an element of resentment there. Now I
Mhm.
just think, well, he's super talented. He's amazing. Like, love that guy. So there's a million things that came off the back of that film that I am thankful for.
And I always get excited when you post any covers of those tunes from that album. I'm like, yes,
Thank
I
you.
love it.
Oh, that's so cool. Me and my ex-wife did a cover of "Hang Me,"
Oh,
which that was like a personal highlight for me. Was my ex-wife is a musician, and we never really did much together. I think because music was my life, she kind of put it away a little bit. And there was times where we played music together, and somebody filmed it on a camera phone. And honestly, it's just I can watch that back now, and I still think, like, in that pub on that particular night in front of 20 people, there was just a musical moment of perfection. Like, that song is just so good, and
mhm.
yeah, that whole soundtrack's excellent.
Perfect favorite. There's no correct answers, but that was the correct answer for the.
You said Inside Llewyn Davis is one of your favorites. What's your favorite Coen Brothers film?
I don't know if it's a popular answer, but I have a very, very soft spot for Burn After Reading.
Oh, it's a good film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's hysterical. Of course you have like Fargo and The Big Lebowski that are like the absolute cream of the crop, but for me, I think it's Burn After Reading. It's something about the chaos that is young Brad Pitt and then Frances McDormand, and just that whole plot is ridiculous. And I also really like George Clooney, and just the how it's so intertwined in its messiness in that film. It has like an Arrested Development kind of feel to it.
I never thought of that, but that's so fair. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
So I think that's one of my favorites for sure.
I feel like the Brad Pitt's character in Burn After Reading is almost a precursor to what he did in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I see it. It kind of is. Yeah. Our second favorite is gonna be what is your favorite book?
Of Mice and Men is my favorite book,
Oh, excellent.
because at school, when I studied it, I never got bored of it. Everyone around me was dropping like flies, their interest. But I remember reading it again the year after I left school, and then again about 5 years later. And I read a few John Steinbeck books that I liked, but never anything as much as I liked of Mice and Men. It's the only book that I've come back to 6 or 7 times in my life.
That's an excellent choice. There's something about that classic literature, how much meaning and how much of a story they can convey in just like it's like 80, maybe 90 pages, right, of Mice and Men?
It's not a long book. I couldn't tell you for sure. I don't sit and kind of equate quality and quantity like that. I
Well,
don't think I've ever looked at a book like that. That's
well,
interesting.
not saying that it's bad for being short or anything like that, but
Well, it
it,
sounded like you were
no,
saying
no,
that,
no,
really.
no, no. No, it's interesting how
Yeah.
you can kind of convey so much like story and impact in like a shorter scale. It's kind of like the short film versus feature length kind of debate also, like how much of something can you contain in like a certain amount of like space. So, no, I'm not saying it's
Mhm.
bad.
Nah, I'm only kidding. But no, just a great book. Um, some I It's one of the only books that's historical and not really relatable to me as somebody who grew up, in the UK in the 90s. But you can find meaning in it, and you can project emotion from that book onto things very easily. I think it's a very good. I'm glad that it's something that I studied at school. I feel like it actually enriched me.
Yeah.
It's not something that just washed over me like so many other books that you read at school. I couldn't tell you another one. I think we read Grapes of Wrath, didn't really enjoy it, but Of Mice and Men and the different characters in it, they teach you a lot about compassion, empathy, cruelty, and struggle.
I actually saw a 2014 Broadway revival of Mice and Men, and it was with James Franco and
I
Chris
think you'll find
O'Dowd.
actually it was 2017, Diggy. So when it's difficult because that has changed. I've never been. I have loyalties to artists and musicians that I've followed for years and years, but it's cyclical because you burn. You know, if you absorb something too much, you do move on from it naturally. I remember the most pivotal two artists for me. First one was Damien Rice. When Damien Rice's O album came out at the end of 2002, I was still in school, and it became a very popular album in the UK around the end of 2003. At that point, I played an acoustic guitar, but I didn't really know anyone else that did. And we had David Gray in the UK, who was a very big acoustic artist, but he was the only one really on that at that point. And around that time, Damien Rice came out, as well as Katie Tunstall, and lots of almost indie, very cool new acoustic artists, and it spearheaded an entire genre. And I was grateful to be there at a point where I just left school. I was into music. I wanted to become a musician full time, and they were the people that made it popular. For me, Delicate by Damien Rice is 3 chords, and it's just musical perfection. And the recording is not very good, and it adds to it. A Volcano after it is the first time I ever heard a cello with an acoustic guitar. My best friend at the time, who I've been friends with for 30 years. I'm 34. I've been friends with him for 30 years. He learned cello so that we could play it together. He's now a professional cellist. So his entire life happened because I really liked Damien Rice. And we joke about it all the time. It's another one of those transformative people and moments. I hit Damien Rice and I went off in a different direction. And from there, other people went off in different directions. I was in a band for 20 years off of the back of me hearing Damien Rice's Volcano on an advert on TV on my like a Thursday afternoon after school, and then from there I discovered Nizlopi, who I don't expect you to know.
No.
But they were a one-hit wonder band in the UK. They made a song called the JCB song, which was a really beautiful song about a boy going to work with his dad for the day. And it was almost a folk song that became a Christmas #1 back when that was really important.
Oh, wow.
And they actually got to, I think they were Christmas #2. I think they got beaten by like the X Factor or whatever it was. And it was all self-funded. They were completely independent, and it taught me that independent music had a place. And they had the coolest stuff. Like they had a webcam that showed their studio on their website, and I used to watch it for hours a day, and you'd hear them argue. They had a record label called FDM, which stood for Folk and Deadly Music, and they were just
hell yeah.
they were just punk, but they were brilliant. And Luke, the singer, acoustic guitarist and singer, he probably the most soulful person I've ever seen perform live. His dedication to making you really feel what he's feeling. I've never seen anyone do it more. And the first time I saw him live, I shit you not, I was stood next to Ed Sheeran, and it was the gig that made Ed Sheeran's life.
No way.
And I was stood there next to Ed Sheeran. He would have been 13. I was about 18. And he was there with his mum. And I was there with my friend Bob. And everyone in that front row, I couldn't tell you anyone else that was there. But I know it's a seminal moment for Ed Sheeran's life because he references it all the time. And I was there in that moment watching it. And I thought what I was going to see when I saw them come out on stage, I was expecting maybe 5 or 6 kind of black guys from Birmingham. And then what came out with these 2 very, very middle class looking white guys with an acoustic guitar and a double bass. And the double bass player, John, beatboxes and plays double bass. What they produced was so much more than the sum of their parts. And I'm really lucky that in the 16, 17 years that have passed, I've become quite good friends with John, the double bass player, and I've seen Luke and had lots of backstage talks with Luke. And it's one of those situations where I got to meet my heroes, and I learned so much from them as a kid, and then as an adult, I get to live the same life on the same level as them. So they're the 2.
Wow.
Damon Rice and Liz Loppy.
That's sick. That's
One of the best live bands you would have ever seen. They were in their prime. They got back together a few times, and you could see that the love was there, but the magic maybe not as much, because they both moved on in their lives. Luke, I think, moved to America and married a lady, and he still releases music, and it's kind of hip hop, soul, acoustic guitar, and he's a free spirit. And John is much more of a session musician, who, jack of all trades. And it's funny, that first, I mentioned Damien Rice and how my friend Lee became a cellist off the back of it. So Lee actually works with John from Liz Loppy all the time.
Wow,
and I think
look
about
at that.
Yeah, they work together on a gig this weekend for a folk band. They're both session musicians. Being a session cellist and a session double bass player, they cross paths all the time.
Wow.
And this afternoon I was listening to a podcast where John was being interviewed by Lee. So these things, they're all a little bit incestuous.
Right, a little bit.
Yeah, but
That's so cool.
they make me happy. They're good for my soul.
What's your favorite food? A nice simple question.
Favorite food? Well, I really love a hot curry, but if everyone knows Hot Ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I had one of the best evenings of my life earlier this year. One of my friends, he takes making hot wings really seriously. It was like, no, it's got to be this kind of flour and this and this and this.
Oh wow.
And we had an evening where 6 of us sat around and did Hot Ones. And I still wake up in the middle of the night laughing about it 6 months later. It's so for me, food and experience, if you're putting them together, the hot wings at the moment, if I see that, I just smile.
Oh, that's great. I have the Hot Ones put out like a card game. It's called Truth or Dab, and it's like Truth or Dare, but then it comes with the last dab, like the triple X one, and it's like a little bottle, and it's
Last Stab is brutal.
yeah.
It's brutal.
I don't know how they act so cool with it. I lost my cool for like a whole week, and I only ate like 1 dab of it. I was out, but oh yeah, the Hot Ones, the chicken wings, that's respect.
I really, really enjoyed. What's the Los Calientes, the 4th one? What I like about it is when you do all 10, you think it's going to go up, and it doesn't. It's so much smarter than that. So you have something that's like a hot sauce, and then something that's a bit worse, and then something that's a bit worse, and then something that's so mellow and so much flavor, and then they build it up again. And then for me, the worst one is the bomb, because the bomb, how they describe it is exactly how it is. It goes down, and as it goes down, you feel it heat up, and then you feel it come back up and come out. And honestly, I've never life-changing experience. Like
For sure, I am a changed man. There is before I did a Hot Ones game, and then there's after, and that's how I tell time now. Because exactly the way they structure those hot sauces is very technical.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like, I know that the bomb was like number 7, and then after the bomb, I was like, well, it's not getting any fucking worse, is it? Like, and then number 8 is so calm because the bomb is so bad. But then I had number 8 again another day, and I was like, oh, it's got loads of flavor, but it hurts. And you realize like certain things tame other elements. Right. But then no, the bomb and the last dab, they are just masochistic instruments of true torture.
Yeah, if you just do the last step straight up, like, is what this card game is. It's not fun. Like I said, that's how I tell the passing of time now. Is pre and post last step. It was too much. But Los Calientes is my favorite one as well. I really like the Rojo, and then they also have a Los Calientes barbacoa. It's almost more of like a barbecue sauce. That was
Nice.
good.
I'd
Yeah.
buy that.
Mm-hmm.
I bought Los Calientes. Like, it's expensive to buy Los Calientes in the UK. You have to buy it from America, and they charge a bomb in shipping, pun intended, right? And I think I paid nearly £25 for this small bottle of Los Calientes because I wanted to try it so bad without the others.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I literally, I've got a hatch behind me, right? And I sometimes, if I'm eating and I'm like, right, I need hot sauce, I like literally, I'm gonna do it.
Let's see. Oh my god!
Oh,
That's
not
too
the
good.
Calientes, but just as good. I found a UK made one.
Oh,
This is
nice!
This is so funny, right? This is marketing at its absolute best. So this is called Aloha, yeah? So you're thinking, Hawaii, yeah?
Mhm.
No. Right. Someone... What am I reading? From its Floridian origins,
Florida!
using the fruit from the beachside trees of Hawaii to its current recipes, sun on a beach, pineapple, ginger, Scotch bonnet, chilies, made in England.
That's too much. Well, you're right. That is a true marketing ploy right there. They put Hawaii, they put Florida on there, and then nope, made in England.
Just put the whole map on there. Someone will bloody buy it.
Yeah, it's just made on planet Earth is what it says on the next one. It's like, thanks, that's specific.
Awesome. You didn't see that coming, did you? When you were filming it, when you were like, I'm going to have Alex from Ukes With Alex in the Southern Ukulele Store as a guest. This is what we'd be doing for the rest of the interview.
Yes. No, I love it. That's why I think it's just as cool to talk about uke stuff as it is to talk about other stuff. Because that's kind of why I want to do a podcast anyway. I like to know what other things people do. So I'm glad that you also really like hot sauce and hot ones, because my scrapped show was going to be hot wings and then you play a song and then they increasingly get trickier as you go. No, there wasn't.
What you're going to eat ukuleles dipped in hot sauce?
That would
be series 2. We're up the ante, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I am obsessed with Vespas scooters.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Tell me about the Vespas.
I didn't discover the thing that I was born to do until I was 34, right? So my dad and my brother really into scooters.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had one when he was a kid. He got back into it when he retired, and I would watch my dad and my brother bond over it. And I've not really ever been. Hopefully they'll never watch this, but I've never really been as close to my dad and my brother as I'd have liked to be. And then earlier this year, I really, I had some free time. I was trying to kind of figure out who I was after a massive life change, and I thought, I'd really love to do this. And I went to my dad's and I said, could I just drive around the block on your scooter and see if I like it? And he said, no. He's like, no, if you want to do it, you've got to book your CBT, which is, I don't know what you have in America, but it's like when you guys get a provisional driving license, you've got to do like a day's thing driving around cones and around.
Oh, yeah, like a road test. Yeah, like a driver's test.
Exactly. Yeah, So he said, no, do your CBT. And I sat there right in front of him and just booked it on my phone for like 3 or 4 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really surprised. I could tell he was like, oh, wow, cool. But he didn't think I'd be into it. He just didn't think. And I did the CBT, and then I went around his house, and he bought a second scooter because he wanted me to do it, but didn't think that I'd go out and buy one.
Oh, wow.
And after about a week, I sold a load of instruments and bought a scooter because I knew that I'd not found anything since I was a kid and I discovered music that made me so happy. And I go out all the time. I go out, I ride to work, rain or shine, I ride to work on the scooter. I live right near like a really nice cliff top with a really long road. It's like something out of GTA Vice City. But
yeah.
but with more rain. So every day I leave for work 10 minutes early, and I ride that route, and I just feel completely connected with myself. And it's so, that's so overly, I'm putting far too much on a possession, but it did something for me. And it's something that music did for me when I was younger. And then you take it for granted because music's been my job for more than half my life.
Right.
And I go out with my dad and my brother, and I go out with like my dad's friends, because in the UK, Vespas and Lambrettas and scooters, it's a hobby that was really popular with people who were in their 20s and the 70s and 80s, and they've now got back into it. So, I'm going out tomorrow on a charity ride. Me, my dad, my brother, and there'll probably be about 30 other people on scooters. And it's just so fun. It's just so awesome, and I love it.
That's awesome.
So,
That's excellent. I love that. I wish the US is definitely more motorcycle kind of heavy,
yeah.
but I would love it.
So the UK. Vespas are not cool, but then I play the ukulele for a living. So
no,
I'm okay.
I think Vespas are cool.
Vespas are okay. Yeah,
Vespas are
okay.
cool. No, Vespas and ukuleles are cool. Dare I ask if you've ever tried to attempt both at once, or is that a very serious
I rode home playing the ukulele and riding a Vespa, not really possible. But
right.
I rode home with my this ukulele in its case around my like a shoulder bag. I ride everywhere. The funniest thing is there's lots of bridges where I live, and if you go over a bridge, the wind really catches you. So when I go to band practices with my guitar, it's like having a sail. I'm like going over.
Oh no.
Like my amplifier on the back, and
Mm-hmm.
like my amp's quite heavy. It's like a 30-watt valve amplifier.
Right.
And like guitar, valve amp, me just like.
You're like, I'm gonna make it to practice as you're like sailing in the wind.
And quite often it's raining, and the rain is like horizontal rain in your face. But honestly, I just it's something that if I name something that's important to me, my kids love it as well. I've got two boys, and they both got kids Vespas
Mm-hmm.
that they ride up and down the driveway where I live, and they love sitting on the scooter. And I feel like it's something that they're always going to remember.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's the best. And you know what? There's nothing like the thrill of the journey with the wind and the rain and the shaking.
absolutely, it's made me a lot braver. Me a lot braver.
There you go. Excellent end to our 5 faves segment. I'll do my best Sean Evans here, except I only have one camera. So this camera, I'm going to roll out the red carpet to you, Mr. Alex. Anything you got going on in your life? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so you can buy my hot sauce from Amazon. What have I got going on in my life? Well, I manage the Southern Ukulele Store, a UK-based ukulele shop, but we ship all over the world all the time. For some of the Hawaiian brands, we really are one of the premier places in the whole wide world that you can get one. Who'd have thought that a tiny little island, thousands of miles away from Hawaii, would be so connected to the people of Hawaii? Aside from that, I have my own channel, Ukes With Alex. I do a podcast. I've got about 18 episodes now. There's a playlist. You can watch the video versions of them for free. I do tutorial videos on my on my YouTube channel, as well as courses on my website. I make my own strings, Ukes With Alex strings. Lots and lots of people that you'll know and love on Instagram, if you know Viggy. You'll see that they tag that they use my strings, and they bought and paid for those strings. They just like them because they're actually really fucking good. So please do buy them. UkesWith.com is my website, okay?
Excellent, excellent. And I'm going to have all those rolling along the bottom of the screen and also in the description of this video. So you can find Alex anywhere on the interwebs. Make sure you subscribe and like all of his stuff. I think he's great. I am so incredibly honored and happy that you joined me here today for my first episode of this silly little podcast I got going here. I hope you had a great time. I had a great time. And
I had a great time.
Yeah! And thank you to all who watched, and be sure to stay tuned for the next episode. I'll see you around.